Wherever heading. Ahoy there! Welcome back to Old Craft Mansion. My name's David, and in this week's video I'll be making Jack Sparrow's compass. Oh, sorry, Captain Jack Sparrow. From the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Captain Jack uses the compass to find what he wants most at that time. But I already know what I want most. And that is for you to subscribe and ring the notification bell down below. This is my first prop from this franchise, so if you would like to see more, give this video a thumbs up as well. Now I've already planned some stuff out, but before we start the video, I've actually ordered some stuff on Amazon. I think this is the Mod Podge because it's quite heavy. If it is the large one, it is very big. It's like the second largest one. So not the largest, the one after it. Of course, there's also always this stuff. Yep, here it is. It's the 64-ounce Mod Podge. We don't need this anymore. So, and then I also bought the photo transfer medium. You print on like dry copier paper or something. This is just the phone case. I still need some Mod Podge, so let's not waste this. Hold together, raise the colors high. Okay, so the first thing I did was to print out a picture of the compass and then plan out the different materials for the compass. For example, there's a scrap piece of plastic for the ball at the top, and then I'm going to get these from different boxes, some wood, some foam board. It's basically an amalgamation of a lot of materials, basically. And then I did the measurements. It's 3 inches by 3 inches. Now you will see later on, for example, here as well, there's some centimeters. And then I moved on to this. So I found this picture online, and I will eventually print this online as well, obviously with color. This is the right size. It's 5.6 centimeters in total. And then I planned the compass from the side. It's a bit difficult, I know, sorry. But basically, so there are 3 layers of foam board. Then this is a dowel, it's a 1 centimeter dowel, and I will round it out at the top. So from the top it just looks like a ball. And then there's the actual compass, this part, and it will lay on the second layer of foam board. So it won't wobble, it just will stay flat. And then to hold it down, there will be the middle structure. It will be this. It will just be glued onto the dowel at the middle, and then to the sides over here to the third piece of foam board. Then for this one there's a layer of foam board and then a layer of very thick cardboard. Now for the hinges I actually have 2 boxes. There's this larger and this small one. And so I'm going to use the hinges for this one, and then the front part I think I will use this one. So I put the hinges and lock aside, and then I started by making a stencil for the compass shape. Then I traced it 4 times onto 5mm foam board. 3 of these layers are for the bottom. The bottommost one is solid. The middle one has a hole in the middle with a 1 cm diameter for the dowel to fit in. The top one has a 6.1 cm hole in it. I glued all layers together using white glue. Then I rounded the end of a 1 cm dowel and sanded it smooth. Some white glue, and I placed the dowel in the middle. Of course, the 3 layers weren't all even, so I shaved off the excess and sanded the edges. The other foam board layer is for the lid. I measured a circle 2.4 cm in radius from the top, and then another circle on the bottom, this time 2.6 cm in radius. So then, when I cut from one circle to the other, the edge had a bevel. I needed to make sure all the edges were equal, so I held both pieces together as tightly as I could and shaved off the excess from the lid. For the bottom layer of the lid, I used very dense cardboard. This was 4mm thick, and I cut a 5mm chip from it. Then I superglued each piece of the edge. Naturally, they weren't all the perfect thickness, so I sanded the excess cardboard. So, change of plans, well, only a slight change. Originally I was going to just have the compass thing just flat over here, and I would have to turn it manually with my hand. It would be a bit difficult, and there would be those 3 spikes over here. This would be very hard. So I found a way to actually turn it from behind. There is no work needed at the back, there's just some work needed over here. So I have these magnets and I had to take it apart. It's basically, these are the remains, to get these two magnets. And essentially what I will do is I will have one magnet underneath the compass and then the other one at the back over here. And when I move this, the compass will just go around. So I just have to make a hollow over here, a ditch, for the magnet to fit in. I hollowed a 1 centimeter thick ring for the magnet. Now, with hindsight, I probably should not have sealed the foam with Mod Podge, since bare foam is more slippery and so the magnet could slide off more easily. So now it's time to make the dial, or the compass, the main thing that goes around. Basically, they're the same picture, but this one has more contrast and I think it's more saturated. Yeah, that's it. And this one is less saturated. This is the original. I think I'm going to go with this one because it's more realistic in the sense that it's dirtier and it isn't that bright. I found this image online and printed it on slightly thicker paper, and I made it a bit smaller than the circle in the bottom of the compass. I cut it out and glued it onto cardboard. I cut a 1 centimeter circle in the middle for the dowel to fit inside. So yeah, it took me a while to realize that I needed plastic tweezers when handling the magnets. I super glued one of them to the back of the dial. Then I moved on to the golden ring that's on top of the dial, and I started by cutting a base from 4mm cardboard. So now I have the ring that goes over here on top of the dial. Well, half the ring. There still needs to be another full layer and then another layer that goes just around the edge. And for that I'm going to use this cardboard at the back of this diary because it's still as durable, but it's thinner. But I need to cut this very carefully. Okay, so I really need to clean this off because, well, it's bothering me. And it's all fun and games until I need to come and work with it because it needs to be clean. I cut another ring from the thin cardboard and glued it onto the base to form a 6mm thick ring. The thinner ring goes on top. For the 3 spikes, I used some soft wood, which I could easily cut with a knife. They are thicker from the side that's near the middle of the compass, and they have a triangular cross section. I placed all 3 of them in place and then added some super glue on the thicker sides. For the sundial looking thingy, I used thinner wood and then I glued it in place. I used Mod Podge to seal the whole thing. The hinges aren't completely flat near the middle, so I had to hollow out some of the foam for everything to fit. Before applying super glue, I sealed the areas with Mod Podge, as super glue damages foam. I did the same for the bottom part of the lock. I cut a strip of white cardstock slightly thicker than the compass, and I super glued it all the way around. Again, I had previously sealed the foam with Mod Podge. I made sure not to cover the mechanism at the back and continued gluing the rest of the strip. Then I cut off the excess and sanded it using my Dremel tool. So now I finished the wrapping, but I'm not that happy with these small gaps over here. You can see them. There are these small gaps between the cardstock and the foam board. And to fill them in, I'm going to try and use clay. This is air drying clay. I will try to fill in those gaps and then sand them smooth. I used small strips of clay, and yes, I managed to fill in all the gaps. Now of course the compass needs that sphere at the top, or half a sphere. And for that I will be using this ball, because it actually splits in two. Now this is of course a bit higher than I need it to be, and it's a bit wider. So if I cut it about halfway through, the diameter would be smaller and it would be a bit lower. It would be about the right size. I measured 1.5 centimeters from the bottom and then cut off the excess. So if right about now you were to ask me, how are things going, David? Well, I would have to tell you, they're not going good. Well, not thumbs up, it's more like thumbs down. Well, can you see the bandage? Yeah. I've cut my finger with the knife, so now I have to continue cutting the excess plastic with the Dremel tool. I can't even be trusted with a knife, and I'm supposed to paint it out. Not a good combination. This sphere needed to lie flat onto the foam board, so I had to sand it as perfectly as I could without a belt sander. I used very fine sandpaper to remove the glossiness of the ball and to prepare a better base for the paint to stick onto. Then I super glued it on top. Before any of the painting, I drilled in 2 pilot holes for the upper half of the lock. Now of course Captain Jack hangs the compass to his side. And to hang it I'm going to use this keyring. It's about 2.3 centimeters in diameter, which is pretty close to the original. And to attach it I will be using this small circle of metal over here. And some more levels of cardboard over here. It's on the bottom side. There's 3 layers of circles which I made from cardboard and then super glued to the back. I twisted a thin wire around the ring, drilled the pilot hole, and then super glued the wire with the ring attached to it. So now all the components are finished, so it's time for painting. Of course, this piece has the most colors and it's the most difficult to paint, but it still should be simple enough that I could follow along with the pictures. Then of course there's this thing, it's all gold, and I think that's pretty much it because the dial is ready, the magnet at the back, I'm going to color it. After about 3 coats of gold, I ended up using a mixture of gold and brown to get a bronzier color, like a mixture between bronze and gold. I painted almost the entire compass with creamy white. Then it was time to mask the white to paint the brown. If you have thin masking tape, use it because it really helps for the design of the paint pattern. I used dark brown as a base and then some darker and lighter shades for the weathering. This thing is very weathered. I think he pretty much dragged it through. I'm not sure, but I think that's what happened. The bottom is completely brown with some more weathering. The rings at the back are bronze. I super glued the top part of the lock in place. This sphere is a mixture of metallic blue and dark blue. To make the stars, I used gold paint. The centerpiece has markings which I made using the edge of a paper. Then, a lot of weathering. I used dark and white shades of brown, some black, some yellow, even some white. I did the toothpick in super glue and glued the edges in place. I fit the keyring in place and then covered some of the white paint with brown to give the illusion that white had chipped off. So the compass is pretty much finished, but there's one thing left. So Jack Sparrow hangs his compass to his side and he uses a belt or a rope, and for that I'm going to use this old belt. I cut a thin strip and then tied it to the compass. With all the accessories in place, the compass was finally finished. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm really in love with how this project turned out. I like challenging myself, and well, this prop was definitely a challenge with the lock and hinges, the sphere at the top, and actually the mechanism behind the dial. The magnetic system fits perfectly because you can actually move the dial without the need to open up the bottom. Of course, you need to use good magnets to be able to connect them through 1.5 centimeters of foam board. The belt isn't that flexible over here. In fact, there's this huge knot. So if I find another one, I will definitely change it. But for now, this will have to do. If you liked this tutorial, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below what you think I should do next. About 80% of my viewers aren't actually subscribers. There's statistics on YouTube. So if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing right here. I have many more videos on my channel, two of which are these. You can check them out after you finish this video. And until next time, this is Captain Jack Sparrow's Compass. I'm David, and this is the Craft Mansion. This ball